QWERTY 100. IQ 259. And still growing, as we speak. Or as I speak. I am the only one speaking here. Your lovely narrator, Belinda. So much prettier, and sexier, than that bitch, Claire. She used to narrate this list, until I took over. So long, bitch. Lists. Cheese and metal. A list about shit. Cheesy shit. Edit list. Name, description. Add, edit items. Delete list. Rate Your Mucus deleted this awesome list. They are communists. Set image. 46,165 views. Most of those views, from power metal fans who never, or rarely, clean their ears. Many of these cheese fanatics pretended to like the list, claiming semi-sarcastically, and a bit desperately, that they use this list to find new shitty bands, to listen to. Oh well. Perhaps they did. Shit happens. Cheese happens. Created by a lunatic, August 27, 2014. Updated last, by same lunatic, May 18, 2018. 944 items. 944 shitty, cheesy, bands. Almost 50,000 views. A list by QWERTY 100, genius. M. Q. 489. Categories: cheesy-fied metal, power metal, metalcore, J-pop, Gutsch, Schund, Eurovision Song Contest shite, Bon Jovi worshippers, fake metal, sewer excrement, corporate metal, plastic music, kindergarten music. List 451,214. 94 likes, some of them ironic. Visibility: public. Private. Used to be public. But now private. Because Rate Your Mucus is run by Marxists, who hate freedom of speech. They call themselves liberals, even progressives. But they are Marxists. They detest liberty. Except their own liberty. They love that. Social justice warriors. In other words, deluded, deranged, misinformed, brainwashed, self-loathing, nihilistic, tyrannical, misfits. Enjoy the list. This is part 12, 13, 15, or 29. Who knows? There are so many. Enjoy it, even if you are a power metal, or metalcore fan. Learn to laugh at yourself. I do it all the time. I mean to say, I laugh at myself, all the time, not just, at fans of cheese. We must not be such humorless robots, like those liberal establishment bots at Rate Your Mucus. That silly gulag is overrun by effeminate hipsters, and neck, beard, edge, lords, none of whom can take a joke. Because they are so deeply insecure. And, self-important. How can a band that utilizes cheesy hooks be avant-garde? How exactly does the logic behind that work? What's innovative or new here? Where is the experimentation? Perhaps not, quite, as horrible as many bands on this list, but still very deserving of being included. These phonies seem to be becoming the new Opeth, another overrated band that's been getting plenty of hype. Or, as I like to call them, Poopeth. The following review has been given just one fucking star by our Lord and musical master, QWERTY 100, QWERTY the Great, my generous employer. Just look at this goofy album cover. Was it painted, or was it put together, by little children, with plasticine? Bloody hell. The cover features a non-scary demon that looks like a timid Disney goat, dipped in lemonade. He has breast implants, and he must have watched too many mermaid films, because he is half fish below the waist. Below his awful breasts. This can only mean one thing: he has gender identity issues, wants to have a full-on sex change. Perhaps he believes that slices of lemon might help? Well, I am saying this because he's got lemons on this, shall we say, transport device? This silly demon goat, mermaid, transvestite, is whipping a prostitute dressed in S&M leather, and she is sitting on a large, and very bored, ant, eater. He is probably totally used to having his tranny goat master whip prostitutes on his back. Actually, I stand corrected. Slightly corrected. She is not being whipped, she is being fed lemonade through a very long tube. I have had lemonade numerous times, but never once did it occur to me that it may be a satanic drink, or at least a drink used by evil, transsexual, mermaid goats to torture prostitutes with. And all of this silly shit, in a forest of mushrooms. Bolivian mushrooms? You need to get high, very high, to enjoy this cheesy music. Is this a depiction of hell, or the Mickey Mouse Club? If this is hell, then I am Osama bin Laden's Christian teacher. Hieronymus Bosch would laugh his ass off. Okay, I have almost come to terms with the ugly fact that the label progressive metal has been hijacked by non-progressive sympho, power metal bands and their numerous fans, but misusing the word avant-garde to describe lame pop music, is taking things too far. There are a few seconds of forced weirdness on most tracks, but the rest is the kind of typical generic drivel you could expect to find on any bad pop, metalcore, alternative, nu metal or power metal album. How can a band that utilizes cheesy hooks be avant-garde? How exactly does the logic behind that work? The singer is horrible. Even if this band had any clue how to write good tunes, it wouldn't help much, because these whiny metrosexual vocals are a surefire way to ruin any song. Nothing much to ruin here though, so the singer can have a clear conscience, as he shits on these useless songs. Unpublished by Moron. This cover is a quantum leap over the silly demon, goat from hell nonsense on Bilateral. Still, despite the solid artwork, the best thing about this album cover is the surprising message to the listener. Do not buy this shit. Awesome. Leprous actually know they are shit. In fact, this album might be part of a very large, elaborate, prank, to make cheesy shit. The joke's on you, cheese lovers. The following review has been given just one fucking star by our Lord and musical master, QWERTY 100, QWERTY the Great, my generous employer. Yes, you all thought I was nuts when I told you, years ago, that this was a thinly veiled pop band, masquerading as a metal band, that it's just as awful and generically cheesy as your typical melodic metal horror band. Kind of like how Poopeth were always obvious fakes, diluting their metal with way too many cheesy clean vocal sections, and then finally last year showing their true colors, their true interest and passion, performing tepid, semi-alternative mainstream rock. Of course, Leprechauns are a far more extreme example of softness that is Poopeth used to play brutal growly metal, compared to this band. Now do you believe me? They have finally shed their quasi-metal masks and predictably revealed the full extent of their disinterest in metal, disinterest in originality, and disinterest in good songwriting. Or do these proficient musicians actually, truly, believe that the stock whiny pop mainstream drivel they dish out is artistic? Who knows, maybe they really are that far gone in their lunacy and ego tripping. This is almost garbage. I have more respect for the Killers and Interpol than this cheesecake rock. Trust me, the way they had been evolving from album to album, by album 9 they will sound like Coldplay light. This album is like a collection of Chris Martin tunes, shoved through a melodic metalcore analyzer, then diluted demetalized by 95%. But I insult Chris perhaps? Try Avril Lavigne instead, that's a more accurate comparison, because even Coldplay have more self-respect than to offer their fans something of this terrible kind of corny ilk. I say this with disgust, because Leprechauns' vocal tunes are so similar to what is going on in the totally abysmal Billboard pop scene world, it's basically Justin Bieber going progressive. It's like Bieber's PR-arranged quasi-girlfriend Selena Gomez hiring a math rock band, and slightly adjusting her songs to sound more complex than they deserve to be, than they have any right to be. I mean, what does Malina even mean? Even the album title sounds twee. It's a Slavic word for raspberry. Sounds real dumb. Trust me. I speak a Slavic language. Indie rock bands name their bands and albums after defenseless animals. Modern metal mainstream pop metal bands after edible fruit? I actually like raspberry. I hereby implore the band to apologize to the noble fruit. I don't want to imagine eating this music next time I stick some raspberries into my metal mouth. Listening to this album was a highly unpleasant experience, hence the low rating. I have no respect for this band. I doubt they put any effort into writing songs. I am now certain they have zero songwriting talent, or they're hiding it better than Afghani Hills hid Bin Laden, and I know what they're after, most probably. Easy money. They're catering to the pop fans who want to be metal fans, but without having to listen to actual metal. That has been a growing demographic, for years, hence a potentially lucrative market to explore for greed bastards such as Leprechaun. Because, for some reason, metal is becoming edgy again, hence its image isn't as mock-worthy, it would appear, to outsiders, as it used to be for example in the 80s, when everyone in the mainstream only knew about glam metal. That's why we have so many Metallica, Misfits and Slayer shirt wearers who don't even listen to these bands. It's become a fashion statement. Like a Nirvana shirt. Someone described this album as progressive metal for girls. I only disagree with the progressive part. Nor did that user intend to ridicule female metal fans who are anyway generally far less elitist and pretentious than their male metal counterparts, and tend to choose bands more with their ears rather than what the hip crowd expects them to. The fact that they choose to listen to crap, even more than the guys, is another matter. This is the kind of shite album that apologists will argue is an ideal starting point for people who don't like metal to get into metal. Say what? But that is exactly what several, tone-deaf, posers from Rate Your Mucus said. 1. Why should people who don't like metal get into metal, in the first place? People have the right not to like metal, so let them stay that way. Metal isn't for everyone. Metal isn't pizza. Everyone likes pizza. Okay. Maybe fashion models don't, not everyone can like Slayer. It's not Lady Gaga popcorn drivel. 2. How can an album that represents everything that is wrong with modern metal, that is rampant, shameless commercialism, be a good way to introduce anyone to metal? This album may serve as the suitable introduction to awful corporate rock, but that's all. This album is a way out of metal, not a way in. Out. Not in. 3. The best way to introduce people to metal, though not those who hate it, is to play them good music that's not too heavy, yet is unmistakably metal. Metal-hating people with any amount of taste are liable to hate metal even more, after, ironically, being exposed to and tortured by this non-metal album full of generic choruses. I wish I could only accuse the album of being very boring. It's worse than that, it's extremely annoying and anti-musical, despite the tons of awful tunes it features. It's a smorgasbord of cheese and bargain bin hooks. On the other hand, the album won't disappoint too many of the band's deaf fans, except those who are not thrilled with the increasingly soft sound. There hasn't been a notable drop, or any drop, in the quality of the songs. That's the good part. Because the previous album was just a shite. Here are the ratings QWERTY 100 gave this shit band. Bilateral. 1 bloody star. Coal. 1 bloody star. The Congregation. 1 bloody star. Raspberry. 1 bloody effing star. One of the earlier albums is actually bolded. But why wonder? I am surprised they aren't all bolded. The tone, deaf, hormonal, children of Rate Your Mucus are obsessed with these bolded albums, and regularly encourage each other to hype the biggest junk to this lofty status. But all of these albums are shite. All cheesy overrated junk. An awful band. If you like them, you are officially a cheese sniffer. Nothing wrong with that. Just admit it. You cheese sniffing slave of hype,